Welcome to another edition of our Vista podcast. Today we've got three folks from Fairway Mortgage at the Wood Group. Just going to talk a little bit about mortgage and what they do and different things that are out there for home buyers. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Hello.
What's up?
Team Alexander in the house.
First up, just introduce yourself. We'll start from left to right. Crystal.
Hi, I'm Crystal Fremel, and I'm a loan officer with Team Alexander.
I'm Artist Alexander, the namesake of Team Alexander, and I'm a loan officer also.
And I'm Shannon Alexander, also a loan officer at the Wood Group at Fairway.
Awesome. Thank you all for being here. So obviously you said you're a team. So let's talk a little bit about how your team works, but how you're also able to do individual things and gain your own business, all that good stuff, but how y'all make it work collectively.
Yeah. All three of us are loan officers, which is awesome. We work together as a team. We have a team email, which is great. So like when we're talking to clients, like for instance, let's just say you give us a referral, you send a referral over to Crystal. We have everybody call the team line or use the team email so that we have multiple sets of eyes on everything so that we can give that speed to respond. Mm-hmm. And then we all have LOAs that assist us as well because they're in the office 24/7 and we're usually not. So we're doing things like this. We're at closings, we're running around, and we want to have that constant contact for the clients and the agents. So if they have a question and we're not in front of a computer, somebody can answer it right away. So,
or if we're talking to a customer, we give them our undivided attention.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to have to try to stop and answer a phone call or anything like that because then that turns the client off as well. So we want to make sure that we're giving the best service that we can.
Yeah.
So y'all are out there conducting business, doing your thing, but y'all got some pretty awesome people back in the office that take good care of you.
Holding it down.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. That's good. Good info. Tell us how you got started in the mortgage business. We'll start on the right side this time.
Oh, sure.
And tell us what you did prior to the mortgage business.
So before the mortgage business, I actually worked for the job I had immediately before getting into the mortgage business. I worked for Foxworth Galbraith Trust, which was a trust company in Colorado. And then the trust portion of it was closing down, and so I went into the store portion of it and was handling the accounts payable and accounts receivable, and I was handling all of the builder accounts. And did that for a couple years, and I was refinancing my own house and was having a huge issue with the loan officer that was handling my stuff, and they were charging me like $10,000 in closing costs, and my interest rate, they told me it was going to be 7%, and it ended up being like 10%. So I was that borrower at the closing table like crying. I was super young, I think I was 20, and didn't really know what was happening. And so I ended up talking to one of my friends that was a loan officer, and he was like, no, I'll help you out, I'll fix you up, and ended up getting me 4%, super low closing costs, like really took care of me. And then I noticed like a week later that he was, that they were hiring at that company. So I contacted him and I was like, hey, how can I be a loan officer? And so he was like, man, like you'd be awesome at it, and we'll give you on the job training. And so I already had contacts with builders and people that I had been working with at the trust company and then also at the lumber yard. And so it was easy for me to kind of transition into it because I spent 30 days training my replacement. And so during that 30 days, I contacted all of my builders and was like, hey, just FYI, I'm going to be leaving, but I'll be able to assist you on the other side.
So that worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, for me, mine is a little easier story. I was in Colorado. I ran into this wonderful woman and decided to make her my wife, and I was in the military. And once I got out, also getting ready to get out, we actually getting ready to buy a house, and I figured out that as a veteran, I didn't know a whole lot about the VA process and VA home loan process, and I was like, well, I've been in 20 years and I don't know it. So I know there's a lot more people out there like me, so I decided I wanted to still help soldiers, but not necessarily be around them every day. So I decided that I would, this is what I want to do. This is my passion, to help people. So just help people in one of the biggest transactions of their life.
Absolutely.
So I was a teacher for 5 years before I got into loan officer position. Why did I do it? I don't know. It looked fun. No, I'm just kidding. I wanted to do something that I could not predict what was going to happen. I wanted to be able to help people on a different level and get a different reward for it. And I really thoroughly enjoy it. I love helping people get into their houses.
Nice. So each of you are obviously loan officers. We've established that. What is there anything specific that you specialize in, or are y'all pretty much around around the horn, y'all do it all.
We do it all.
Yeah,
we do it all.
When you say do it all, what I mean.
We do VA, we do grant bond programs for teachers, Homes for Heroes. We do FHA, conventional investment.
USDA.
We've done a few renovation loans.
Yeah. Reverse
everything.
mortgages. Pretty well, if there's a loan out there
We
that's
can
for
do it.
residential,
Yes.
we can
We
do
want
it.
to do it.
Yes. we would do it.
Refinancing, all that.
Refinancing.
We do mobile homes. That's not our
Right.
favorite.
We don't like mobile homes, but we will take care of it.
Yes.
So y'all do a little bit of everything. So you had a career before, obviously all of you did, and then you got into the loan officer world, the hectic world. Why Fairway, the Wood Group? Why did you decide that was home for each of you? And I'll let each of you answer that question.
Well, you answer that. I have a good story on that way. You answer that question.
Yeah. Collectively, I've been in the business for about 18 years, but when I moved from Colorado to Texas with artists, kicking and screaming, mind you, I did not want to come to Texas, loved Colorado, love it, I love Texas now.
I like Colorado
but-
too, but I can't breathe.
Yeah. But when I came here, I had to start my career over, like from scratch. And I was working at a little local credit union. I won't name drop where that was. And things were not going that great. And Matt Wood was working for another company. It was called First Alliance. At the time, he was in the broker world. And he was sending me second lien. So I was helping him out with some mortgages from the credit union. And one night, he came into my office and stopped in over at the bank and was like, hey, how are things going over here at the bank? And I was like, oh, it's fine. Everything's great. Because, that's what I do.
Right.
And he was like, well, if at any point anything isn't great, just holler at me. And so he ended up starting with Fairway right shortly after that, and then opening an office directly across the street from me where I was at. And so we would see each other all the time. He was like, come on with it. So my processor ended up leaving me at the bank, and things were kind of crazy, and so I took a shot on Fairway, and it was the best decision I had ever made. Like, I look back on the 10 years that I've been with Fairway, and I'm like, man, this is the best company I've ever worked for. So
Nice.
Yeah, and me, I kind of jumped on. Once
It's kind of easy for you.
yeah. Hey, everything's easy for me. Once I figured out that that's being a loan. Actually, I didn't even figure out I wanted to be a loan officer until we had went to an annual meeting. And because I had some leave, and I was like, hey, I'll go with you. Went to the annual meeting, and I saw how they loved on people from the CEO down. Everybody, loving on people, and
Yes.
how, of course, something near and dear to my heart. How they, took care of veterans. I said, you know what, this is where I need to be. So that's
Awesome.
So I decided to be a loan officer and with Fairway. So
Good deal.
So I was a loan officer for 3 years before I became a loan officer with Fairway. Then when I first started, I wasn't very educated, kind of like Shannon, on what was the best company to go to. I just went with what I knew. I loved the people I worked with, but again, I'm not going to name drop. It just wasn't as smooth a process as what I had anticipated it to be. And then when I learned how smooth the process can actually be, it was super eye-opening. But it was also Matt. Matt probably called me several times my first year, and I was like, no, I'm good. And then my third year is when Shannon and I finally started talking to one another, and we realized, oh, I kind of really do like her. And then Matt was still calling, and Matt was like, look, Crystal, if you have problems with this many deals and I can save them for you, or somebody from our group can save them for you, you have to come. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to have that. And I did. And anyways, I started and I love it. I don't know how to explain how much I really do love it there. I wish I would have made my move a lot sooner, but sometimes there's a reason for everything.
That's absolutely right.
we call it Mortgage Disney.
Yeah, Mortgage Disney.
Fairway's Mortgage Disney.
Yeah.
So all these great things I'm hearing about Fairway. Tell us a little bit about Fairway itself, not necessarily the Wood Group, because I know y'all aren't just here in Bell County. Y'all are Fairways everywhere, basically.
yeah, so we're basically in all 50 states. Even out to Hawaii and up in Alaska, we have
I did not
offices.
know that. That's
Yep.
awesome.
Yeah, everywhere.
So, actually, y'all almost lost us to Hawaii when we went out
Oh
there.
yeah, we were like searching for.
It's fine.
We were looking for some real estate.
It's like, oh, I don't know if I'm coming back.
Yeah.
Yep.
But when then we saw there was a Fairway there, we were
I was
like,
like,
dang it.
Well, it's about Lake, Hawaii. I mean,
yeah,
it's close, right?
close. It's water. But yeah, so we're in all 50 states. We're actually as far as like doing loans, we're the number one lender that most people haven't heard about. We are number 5, I want to say, in the VA. Behind and all this,
And that's in the world, right?
In the world, yeah.
well, in the States,
In the nation, yeah.
in the nation, and that's behind the big banks you've always heard of, all the other lettered banks you've heard of. So,
Right.
And we're like the number one independent one behind them.
Yeah.
So I think we've done a really good job. So and that's in all the programs: USDA, VA, FHA, and conventional. We're basically, like I said, right behind. There's no other independent mortgage company that's above us. That's all like big banks.
So y'all are a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and like you said, nobody's heard of us, but the cool thing is Fairway doesn't do any advertising.
Yeah.
So you don't see commercials, you don't see huge billboards about Fairway, you don't see any of that
Right.
stuff. What it is word of mouth, and the loan officers doing a great job on the street with the consumers and the people and just helping and serving, but they haven't put money and marketing into big dollars like we see with all the
Right.
other ones that are constantly on TV. So that says a lot, I think, for Fairway in general, because if we're doing that much business and we're not paying for that advertising, it's pretty awesome.
Right.
So I know personally, I've done a lot of deals with Fairway, but I was extremely impressed with Matt and Mark and the way they carried themselves and the way they conducted business. I got the opportunity to go to one of y'all's conventions, maybe 2 of them, at the Gaylord, and I left blown away by y'all's CEO. Like, I came back here and told our owner, who's obviously my father-in-law, I said that
He's
was
the real
impressive.
deal.
I mean, tell us a little bit about how that makes your job easy and why it makes it enjoyable for you. I
I
mean,
just got chills when you said
how
that.
easy is it for you to work for guys like that? I mean,
Well, that was like one of the things when I first came over to Fairway. My old company would say, well, it's not going to be as easy to reach out to, or they would, if you go to a bigger company, it's not going to be as easy to reach out to a CEO or something, if you need something. Well, the truth is in our company, we really don't need to reach out to him for anything because
Right.
we have enough outlets, but he will reach out to you. He notices you. I mean, my first month there, he reached out to me. And when I had my first really good month, he sent me an email and it was like,
Personal.
oh, wow, he noticed me.
Yeah.
So he just makes those touches out of all the hundreds of
Yeah.
people at Fairway. It's kind of neat.
and I'll let y'all continue, but to touch on that, I remember he was calling, there were thousands of people out there and he was calling them out by their names, and I'm like, that's
He knew-
that's all I need to know.
He knew
I mean,
every single person. He gives people nicknames. I'm going to tell a quick story really quick about what happened to me. So Artis, after we had moved here to Texas, he got sent to Korea. And he was in Korea, and I was at one of the annual meetings, was there, and I didn't really know Steve personally. Like, he had emailed me a couple times saying, great job, things like that. And I had noticed that he friended me on Facebook, right? But besides that, I really hadn't had an opportunity to even have a conversation with him. And so we were having a cocktail party, and I was at the bar getting a drink for myself, one for me, one for Matt. So I'm standing at the bar. I turn
for
around.
Matt.
Double fisting.
Yeah, double fisting. So I turn around and have 2 drinks in my hand, and then boom, Steve Jacobson standing right in front of me, and I was like, oh hi.
I don't drink these.
And he
I was
doesn't,
just like-
and he doesn't,
And he doesn't
that.
drink, okay? Yeah, so I'm like 2 drinks in my hands, and I was just like, hey, how's it going? He was like, how are you, Shannon? And I was like, I'm great. And he was like, how's Artis? And I was like, he's awesome. And he was like, he's in Korea, right? And I was like, he is in Korea. And he was like, well, hey, will you do me a favor? And I was like, sure. And he goes, my friend is here. She was like, she's worked with me since day 1 in the business, and her son is about to deploy, and she is a hot mess. He was like, she's over sitting in the corner by herself crying. He was like, would you do me a favor and just go sit with her and talk to her, and just kind of tell her, it's going to be okay. And he was like, that would mean the world to me if you would do that. And I was like, sure. So he walked me over and introduced me, and we hooked up on Facebook, and she would message me like once a week, like just asking for advice and things like that. And so I thought it was so cool that not only did he know my name, right, and he knew my face and he knew my name, but he knew my husband's name and that he was in Korea. You know what I mean? Like just that fast. Like he's a noticer.
Well, and then the following year after I got back, went to an annual meeting, and he introduced me to his sister, actually, and I had never met him, but he introduced me to his sister, and he started telling his sister how me and her met. That's like, how do you know? First of all, how do you know that? Second of all, how do you remember that?
Right.
Out of all the people in the company.
And I don't think yes, we do a good deal of business. Like we are up there in the company, but in the beginnings of our business, we weren't, right?
Right.
Like, I wasn't anything special. I was just like everybody else. I wasn't, top in the company my first couple of years. And for him to recognize, know, and care enough to care about our lives, I think says everything.
Right.
So.
That's you can't ask for anything more in a company. I mean, I've seen it firsthand for you
It
guys.
was
so
genuine.
That's awesome.
Very.
Yeah.
So we'll wipe the tears now. And we'll jump to
Oh,
the
geez.
next.
Let me tell you one more thing. So that's on the personal side. Then on the business side, he also, if we have a district email called branch support. He's actually on that branch support email. So if we have something we need some help with that we send up the flagpole, he's on that email. He immediately responds, "Hey, let's get so and so on this."
When's it closing? What time?
So
Like, he's like boom, boom, boom.
because he started out he was a loan officer himself, so he knows what it takes to be a successful loan officer. He's not just some figurehead, that just knows how to run a business.
Right.
No, he's actually a loan officer, so he
gets
cares
what it
about what each individual loan officer and what it takes to close loans.
I had a deal that it was like 6 o'clock on a Friday and it hadn't funded yet, and the seller wouldn't allow keys and all this stuff because for some reason the wire got held up or something. And I had sent an email, like a SOS at like 6:15 on a Friday night to branch support. Help, somebody help me. This wire isn't there. These people are going to be homeless all weekend. They don't have any place to go. Somebody please help. He was the very first one to reply, "Shannon, we got you." And he starts tagging all these other people. "Hey, we'll take care of it." Blah, blah, blah. Within 20 minutes, they had a wire. But he reached out, you know what I mean? So when you see the CEO emailing you, even if it's 6:15, you're like, "I'm on it. Okay, what do I got to do?" So I feel like that's cool.
That is cool. That's great. So let's jump a little bit. I want you two to tell me a little bit about what programs are out there for, teachers, first responders, first-time home buyers. Just educate us a little bit on that process and what's out there for those types of people.
So we have all sorts of grant and bond programs for customers, for teachers, homes for heroes, police officers, firefighters. Even you don't even necessarily have to be a first-time home buyer for a lot of them. There are first-time home buyer incentives, but sometimes that's the biggest misconception of all is, well, I'm a first-time home buyer or I'm not a first-time home buyer. I can't use that.
Right.
And you can reuse them over and over. So some of them. So
Some of them have stipulations
Yes.
like you can't currently own a home.
correct.
But as long as you've sold that home,
Right.
you're considered a first-time home buyer again.
Right.
So, like she said, it's a common misconception. But there's so many ways that people can get into a home with no money down. So there's
Right.
or little money down, because you've got, obviously the VA loan, which we'll talk about that later, is. Everybody knows that's 100%, but
Right.
there are other loans that are 100%. We have the USDA, which is 100%. That just requires that you be in a rural type area, has some income limitations and things like that. But then there's also some other things, like you can have an FHA loan and then put a grant on top of it, which helps
Right.
assist with the down payment, so that you don't have to come in with a full down payment.
Or closing costs.
Or closing costs. It can help with closing costs. So there's lots of options, especially like she said for service members, and
Right.
Yes. Artists, I know you're former military, so this is kind of near and dear to you. And I actually, with you guys, closed a deal yesterday with Crystal in 11 days for a military guy, and that guy was ecstatic. That was
Living
awesome.
and closing.
That was a good deal. But
Nice.
tell us a little bit about what's available for our military, active, retired, and then I know there's some new stuff that just happened with VA, so talk to us a little bit about that.
Basically, VA loan, you have an opportunity to get into a house with zero money down, as long as you have the entitlement. Entitlement right now, actually, the loan limit right now is $484,350. So as long as your house doesn't go over, the purchase price doesn't go over that, then you can get into a house with no money down, as long as you have the entitlement. Starting 1 January though, they're supposed to be getting rid of that limit, and then so we're not quite sure how all that's going to work right now, because they haven't put out all the guidelines yet. But what it's looking like is that no matter what the price of the house is, you won't have to have a down payment, even if it's above the 484. So that's one thing starting January 1st. Another thing is starting January 1st, so there's a funding fee that's always a part of it, unless you're a disabled veteran. So starting January 1st, even if you have a Purple Heart and you're active duty now can have basically the funding fee waived
Right.
So and that saves a lot of money too, because depending on purchase price of the house and how many times you've actually purchased a house using VA loan, that could be thousands and thousands of dollars. So that's going to be a great break for veterans. But yeah, the VA loan is one of the best, or actually, in my opinion, the best loan program out there, because it helps protect veterans, and also helps to make sure that they can actually be, a homeowner.
Nice.
Right. I
That's
think
awesome.
there used to be a lot of misconception about VA loans.
Yeah,
Yeah, so one misconception, like she was talking about, is you can use your VA loan more than once. We come across veterans all the time that say, hey, I was saving up my VA loan for my home, my forever home.
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm like, no,
no, you don't
You don't
have to.
do that.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and use it.
Yeah.
Instead of having to try to put
Yeah.
5 to 20% down, let's go ahead and use that VA
I've
loan.
done loans for older people, in their 60s, and
Never
it's
used
their all the houses they've bought have been conventional. They never use their VA loan because nobody ever educated them.
Well, and you know
on
what?
it.
I found, because I ask questions, like I get real nosy, like y'all know that. And so like I've had a couple of people that have told me, oh yeah, I've never used it. And I'm like, but why?
Why? Yeah.
Why haven't you?
Yeah.
And so I get down into that, and I've had so many people tell me that every loan officer that they talked to said that the VA loan wasn't the best loan, that it was too complicated, there'd be too many problems, too
And I
many
really
issues.
They just weren't
And
educated.
I
on
think
it.
that there's a lot of loan officers out there that are not educated on VA, and so they scare away from it a little bit. So if they don't understand the program and don't know enough about it, they're going to try to guide somebody into a different program and tell them all the reasons why they shouldn't do the VA loan, which is a disservice
Right.
to the military. And I see that
Right.
that's probably the main thing
Right.
on why veterans have been steered away from it.
And I'll say going back to Fairway. Fairway has an amazing program. So not only do we get education as a loan officer, we actually have a certification called a military mortgage specialist. Basically, there's been a curriculum that's been developed that basically teaches a loan officer about VA loan, not only VA loan, but a little bit about VA loan, but about being a veteran in general, how to relate to veterans.
Lingo.
Yeah, how to relate to veterans and how to basically be on their level so that you can be a better loan officer, a better guide for that veteran. But we also have a curriculum for realtors as well, called the what's it called? I can't remember.
Okay, so it's
Mili-
military mortgage specialist, and then
Military residential specialist, something like that.
military
Anyway,
residential military specialist.
yeah, RMS.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it gives realtors education on how to again be on that level with the veteran. How basically some of the things they may be going through and how to be, like I said, a better guide for that veteran. And so it basically educates not only it educates the whole team for that veteran.
Right.
I think it's really important for real estate agents because one of the things that I heard from a service member was after he came back from deployment, Sean Parnell, what tour was he on when
He was in Afghanistan.
Okay, yeah, he was in Afghanistan, and it was a terrible situation. But when he came home, like none of his family or his friends, like he said, he came home and went to the same friends that he had before he left, right before he deployed and went out. And he came home, and everybody was still the same, but he was different, right? And so he didn't understand. He didn't know how to have conversations with them about what he had been through. So he just didn't talk at all. And one of the first people that he met was a real estate agent. Because of course you come back, you've got all this money, you're going to need to buy a house, right? And so he said he was with the real estate agent, real quiet, and she said, "I want you to know that you can talk to me." And he was like, "Yeah, I'm good." And she goes, "No, I can take it. I can take it. Like
Yeah.
you can talk to me. I'm here for you. Like we're going to be spending a lot of time together, and I just want you to know I have shoulders big enough to take it. So if you need to, talk to me about stuff or things that you've been through, I just want you to know I'm here." And so like that opened his eyes to say like, man, these real estate agents are kind of the first people that these guys are seeing when they come back, and you need to understand and know what they've been through in order to be able to help them, because
Right.
they might just need to talk.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was really special, and so educating them on just what veterans have been through and what they need is super important.
Nice.
So.
That's awesome. So just talking about a little bit, we have a ton of agents that do business with Fairway in general, the Wood Group, not necessarily just y'all, but or loan officers in y'all's group there. And I can honestly say that since I've been here, since we've opened Vista, I don't think I've had a deal fall through. I really don't. With y'all's group and especially specifically y'all's team, because I'm kind of have to use y'all.
You're kind of forced.
But that goes for others within y'all's department as well. Tell us how why is it so smooth with y'all, and why does it go? Why is it so easy? It seems I really mean that.
I think we're really super out of the box thinking. If we encounter a problem, we're gonna try to fix it or figure out a way to fix it. Yesterday there was a closing and last minute something came up, and instead of me calling the borrower, I called who I needed to call myself because I didn't want to bug them again. So I think it's just how we're proactive, and we do so many loans that we know that the company knows how to do them. We have our guidelines. We know what to expect when they come in on the front line, and that's the most important. So the way you set it up is guides you through the rest of the process.
Yeah, like I said, setting it up basically. When we first get that customer, you ask all the questions that go through. Oh, I got burned by this in the past. Let me ask this question. So you try to figure out all those questions up front, or all those answers up front, so that way you're not burned on it in the back end. Yeah, a lot of buyers are gonna not tell you everything up front. They're gonna think, oh, I can hide this and I can get through it. But one of the things that we always tell our clients is, hey, make sure you tell us everything up front, because if you tell us up front, we can figure out a fix up front. If you wait till closing, we'll still figure out a fix, but it may be more difficult for you in the end.
Right. I would say one of the things that I've learned in the past is because I've been doing it for a long time, I've had agents tell me that clients have said, oh, well, it's so difficult with Shannon up front. Like, she asked too many questions. Like, I could just call whomever and they'll give me a pre-qual just like that. But Shannon's asking me this, that, the other, and she's making it too difficult up front. I don't care if I'm making it too difficult up front, and I'm honest with people. I want to be the underwriter on day one to figure out all of those little things and be a great loan officer day one and be able to troubleshoot all of that and see in the future as to what the landmines might actually be that could cause this deal to go south, because there are so many people involved. There are sellers, buyers, families, people are moving. There's so many things involved. We don't want something to come up at the nth hour and then derail that, and then all these lives are in shambles. And so I think it's very important to be
It's a domino effect.
Yeah, it's a domino effect. So I think it starts with the loan officer, to be quite honest with you. And there are so many companies out there that there's this thing where you can look up. You can type in somebody's NMLS ID number, which is our license number, and you can see their resume. And we crack up a lot because we'll have somebody shopping us with so-and-so at a different company, right? And we know, this dude probably he's been a loan officer for probably 12 days, right? And so we'll go on there and look, and it's just so funny. It's like, oh, he worked at McDonald's, and then he worked here, and then he worked there, and then he was an insurance salesman, and then he was a realtor, and then he was this, but now he's a loan officer. Well, guess what?
Or he was with ABC Mortgage, and he was with XYZ Mortgage, and
hopping around here, there, and the other. Or a lot of companies, they don't require the loan officers to be licensed, which means because they fall under the national license of the bank, right? So all their banks, they're more
credit unions and banks.
Yeah. So when you call,
when
you call a bank to get a mortgage and you're talking to a loan officer, they're basically an order taker. They are just a phone operator inputting information, but they don't have the knowledge to be able to understand what the words that they're hearing. For instance, we'll have a veteran that'll get pre-qualified with somebody, won't say any names, and they'll get this huge pre-qualification, and they'll call me, and the first thing that they say is, I'm about to retire, I'm getting out of the military in 2 months, and buy my forever home, this, that, and the other. Well, that other bank has qualified them based on their active duty pay, and my first thing is, oh, you're quitting your job, you're not going to have a job, where's your income going to come from? Do we have a job lined up? These kinds of things. And so they may go all the way through that process and then find out at the nth hour they can't close. They can't buy the house because nobody asked, where's your next job?
Whereas we'll go ahead and try to figure it out up front and say, okay, well, hey, you may not be able to close this month, but we wait a little bit and we can go ahead and get you to close a little bit further, a little bit closer. Another thing is she talked about in the very beginning about speed to respond. We always try to make sure that we are on schedule. There's a lot of people say, hey, 45 to 60 days. If we're closing, if we get the contract and we don't close them, well, we always close them in 30 days. Put it that way. There is no extending a closing past 30 days. unless the buyer needs to close after 30 days or the seller needs to close after 30 days. But for the most part, we're closing 30 days or less.
Nice.
It's not a rush unless it's under 21 days in our system. But that comes from ops too. I think you can't just be excellent loan officers. You also have to have operations behind you as well. And we have an amazing support staff behind us with our processors, our closers, and then we have like operations managers that jump in and help if something's tight on making a closing date. Everybody knows that part of our sell is closing on time.
Right.
Every time. That is what Fairway does. We close on time. And so because everybody knows that's the bar, right? Is that we close on time. So if we're 2-3 days out from closing and everybody starts smelling, right, that this one may not make it because it's a hot mess and something's going awry, there are 5 people jumping in going, how can we make this close? Not just us. We've got people, we've got eyes up here looking and going, hey, we're 72 hours out. Why aren't we clear to close? How can we help? And they just jump in and pretty much force it to close with all their hands.
Y'all won't brag on yourselves much, but well, maybe you will. But I've seen these two and heard these two. It's not just one of those deals where it looks shaky and you're like, we can't do it. I've heard y'all on the phone. I've seen y'all. You usually probably stay out of this, but I've heard y'all when I'm sitting at home or whatever, and I've seen her in the car, and y'all fight for these people to be able to buy these homes. Y'all don't just throw it to the wayside and hope they get it down the road. Y'all y'all try to figure out a way to make every deal work, and that's what a realtor wants. I mean,
well, our job is basically, that little kid that you see trying to force the round, the square peg in the round hole.
Yeah.
That is our job. That is our job, to make that square peg fit in that round hole, however we need to. Whether it's to make the hole bigger, to make the square smaller, turn it, twist it, whatever. That's our job, and that's what we take pride in. And because at the end of the day, like you said, it's not just a number. There's families. There's people involved. So we got to make sure that happens for them.
And as a realtor, like we know that it's a big deal when you send us a referral. It's your paycheck on the line, right? And so I've always told my agents, like, I want you to be able to know that you can stand on my pre-approval. If I give you a pre-approval, it's going to close.
Right.
I am going to do everything in my power to make sure it's going to close because you have entrusted me with your mortgage, with your bills, with your family's paycheck. And so I don't ever want you to think, oh, let me throw it to her, hope it sticks kind of deal, or ever wonder, like, am I going to get paid on this? Like, I want you to know, like, if you write a contract, you're getting a paycheck.
We're going to move on now. Interest rates, to the thing that everybody wants to. I can't tell you how many times a week I get this question. Well, how are the interest rates? Are they going up? Are they going? I don't know.
We don't like talking about.
We hate talking.
If we had a crystal ball, we would be able to say.
Exactly.
And we hate talking
and that's why I'm
about
going into this question, so y'all can kind of tell everybody how they're governed, all that good stuff, and tell us how they are right now.
So, interest rates. Yeah. All right. So basically how interest rate works is, we actually did a video not too long ago about it, but interest rates, people think, the stock market is up, interest rates should be going down.
Yeah.
That's actually the total opposite. Because basically, the interest rate, so the rates are basically, they're based off of mortgage-based stocks. If the stock market, the easy way to say it is if the stock market goes up, they think, okay, people are more apt to spend money because they have more money, so interest rates go up. When the stock market goes down, it means people are losing money, they have less money, they're more tight with their money, the interest rates are going to go down. So that's basically, in a nutshell, what happens.
Right.
Now, on each and every day, we can't really tell you because, again, we don't have that crystal ball.
Right.
But for the most part, if people are looking at rates and they're wanting to know what rates are actually doing, that's a good indication. It's not 100% true all the time, but that is a good indication of what's going to happen.
Cool.
Yep. And right now rates are pretty stable. I mean, they went down just a tad, but then they went kind of back up a little bit. But they're still like, I would say, mid fours.
Yeah, well,
around there.
And the thing about it is, though,
low to
it depending on your credit. It really, and then that's the biggest thing too. When somebody calls and asks, well, what are your interest rates like today? Well, what's your credit score? What's your debt to income? Like,
what kind of loan are you doing?
Yeah, it has a lot. There's a lot of factors that determine an interest rate.
Yeah.
There's not a blanket interest rate.
And I would just say this, the biggest thing that we fight against on a regular basis is people look online. On the internet for interest rates, right? And so they'll look online and they'll see rates are 3.25. And then they'll call us with Joe Blow, right? They'll call us and we'll say it's 4.25. And they're like, why is your rate so much higher? Well, it's because every single company out there is putting their best foot forward online. And so what they're saying online comes with usually 2 to 3 points, right? So on $200,000, let's just say that rate for 3.25 is costing 2 points that they have somewhere in fine print that you can't find on their website. On $200,000, that's $4,000 extra in closing costs on top of the already probably $6,000. So now you're $10,000 at the table on closing costs because you wanted that 3.25 rate.
Plus your down payment.
Plus your down payment. So what we do is we educate them that yes, I can get you 3.25, but this is the cost, and this is how long it's going to take you to recoup it, which is probably going to be 6 years. If you're telling me you might be in the house 4 years, that is a no-go for you. You don't want to pay that extra money to get that lower interest rate if you're not going to recoup it in the time. So we have to educate them up front with explaining why there are lower rates that they're seeing and what the differences are and does it make sense. And in other markets, it's just common that they charge a 1% origination fee and they charge 1% on the interest rate as a buy down, because they're all out there fighting for all the deals, and so they're all saying that their rates are super low, but it's coming with all these costs. So,
and the thing about it is, you got to think about how. So we've been blessed the last few years about basically having low rates across the board, everybody in general. If you look back, probably about 7, 8 years. No, actually about 10 years. Rates were in like the double digits.
Oh yeah.
So a 4% rate compared to somebody who bought a house 10 years ago, that's actually really, really good. So, I mean, people don't think about that. They think about right now.
the historical average is like 7.5, and we're in the 4s.
Also, even if the rate doesn't include a buy down, it's usually based off 800 credit score
with 20% in.
Right, and so it's just a big difference.
There's just a lot of misconceptions out there. And you touched on a big one is people get online, they watch their little YouTube videos, and all these online companies are offering this and that and that. But the other big thing is they can't walk into your office and talk to you face to face, and they may never talk to the same person twice.
There's a lot of people out there, like she said before, the banks that they just basically, you call into a call center and you talk to one person, and then you could hang up the phone like, oh, I forgot to ask this question. You call back and you sit on hold with that nice hold music that everybody likes, and and then you get somebody totally different, and you ask that, but then you have to explain everything you did before and then answer your question. Where with us, again, you only have, you have 7 people to talk to. And you're going to get 1 of 7 people, and everybody's going to know what's going on with your one file.
But the big thing is they can walk through your front door and talk to you face to face. That's the big thing. And that's why we as local agents try to keep them with local lenders, because it never turns out good.
Or, I mean, even if they're like somewhere else, I mean, we're still super easily accessible. I mean, you can text message us. You can.
They have our cell phone numbers.
They have our cell phone numbers. So
I worked at a bank. I'm not going to say where, and they didn't allow the loan officers to do business on their cell phones because they thought it was unprofessional, because they think in the bank world, right? And I was like, oh yeah, that's not going to work for me, because as a loan officer, my clients have got to be able to have that immediate connection with me and text me and communicate after hours.
And while we all have families, we all have people we need to take care of outside of our normal job, you know, our families and stuff, but we are still always accessible too. I would love for somebody to go to one of those letter banks, those big box banks, and try to get somebody after 5 o'clock.
Oh yeah.
On their cell phone.
I agree.
Oh, in general.
And it's funny, we deal with people.
Sunday.
We deal with people that are deployed in other places, and so their timelines are totally off. And so we have to talk to them like
3 o'clock in the morning.
3 o'clock in the morning. They're messaging, and you know, I wake up at like 4:45, and I'm messaging them back because I'm like, oh, they're still awake, and because I know that that's the only time that I can get them, or it's in the evening when they're waking up, and so we have to like be able to, you know, help.
And then you just adjust to that situation. I mean,
you adapt.
You just set yourself up. Like I would set myself an alarm. Like he's gonna email me at 2:45. I need to be ready to respond. You know what I mean? Because and
it doesn't happen all the time, but we have the ability, because of our flexibility and because of the fact that we know that not no two loans are the same.
No.
No two situations are the same. And so we put ourselves in that buyer's shoes basically, and we're like, hey, he still needs to get this done. He may be on a different time schedule than me, but that's my problem to figure out, not his.
Absolutely.
I think that's also what sets us apart is we all genuinely care. People aren't just numbers.
It's families, it's stories, it's situations, you know.
Yeah.
We hear those stories and we're like, we got to help them out. We got to make this work.
So those there's every deal is great because you're helping somebody achieve the dream of owning a home. But what can you tell somebody that's a first time home buyer? Because I hear this all the time. I don't know if I want to get pre-approved. I'm a little bit nervous about getting pre-approved. I don't want them to pull my credit. I don't.
Right. That's
Talk
the
to-
first question. Are you
talk to
thinking
them
of
and tell
reduce
us-
my credit score?
why it's not that difficult of a process. It's really an easy process.
So, well, pulling your credit one time is not going to reduce your credit score. I mean, and the truth is we can't tell you anything without
Looking at your
seeing
credit.
it. We
Yeah.
can't predict what you have.
Yeah.
You know.
One of the biggest things though is credit is something that you
It's sensitive.
it's sensitive. No one else can see it unless you want them to see it. So
Right.
it's like you being naked.
Yeah.
So actually, it is you being
Yeah.
naked.
Yeah. In
Because-
front of someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Standing naked in front of someone else, and that's one of the biggest things people are afraid of. When you go buy a car, it's something different. It's like, okay, I'm buying a car, whatever. But when you're looking at trying to buy a house, and you're sitting in front of me, and I'm pulling your credit, I'm looking at everything, and I'm looking at everything you've done for the last X amount of years, good and bad. It's kind of
It's nerve wracking.
they're right. And
Scary.
But we don't think about it that way either.
Yeah.
No.
We think about it. What's the next step? What can I do to get them closed? Or if we can't do anything right now, what can I do to help them close? in
And
6
getting
months?
pre-approved is super simple.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally, depending on if you do it over the phone or if you do it online, it takes maybe 30 minutes
Right.
tops, right? We pull credit, we ask you about your job history, we plug everything into the computer, we check all the numbers, we kind of figure out, okay, where do you need to be dollar-wise, payment-wise. One of the first questions I think that most of us ask is, instead of, hey, I can qualify you for $400,000. Instead, I always ask them, what's a comfortable payment for you monthly? Okay, what's your
Right.
top dollar for monthly payment, taxes and insurance included, and then I work backwards from there because it makes no sense to qualify, especially a first-time home buyer.
Yeah.
They want to be able to go out and brag like, I qualified for $400,000.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna want to pay a $5,000 payment,
No.
please.
Yeah.
You told me you want $1,200, so I try to do it like, where do you want that number to be monthly, and then work from there.
Right.
And then, like Crystal said, or artists, like if people have flaws in their credit, we want to be able to look at it and say, okay, these are the things that you need to do in order to fix your credit and boost your credit up. We can pay down some of your credit cards, or maybe they need to open a credit
Maybe
card.
they need to get one.
And we help them through that to get them to where they need to be a home buyer.
Yeah.
We don't ship them off to credit repair.
Well, 'cause there's some-
we do it ourselves.
So credit repair, not to knock credit repair. There are some great credit repair companies out there.
Yeah.
You can also, most of the things that you can do that a credit repair company's going to do, the client can do themselves for free and not have to pay someone else. And we just try to help educate them on that. Also, even if they have a qualifying credit score for a mortgage, we still try to educate them on, hey, this is how you can get your credit score
Right.
higher.
If I think
Better rate,
if I
yeah.
think they're getting hit too hard on their rate, I'll say, hey, in the meantime, can we work on your credit score? Do this. Can you do this so I can get you a better rate?
And there's a lot of people out there that call that have never bought a home. They have no idea they have to get pre-approved to buy a home. They think they can just call and say,
We're the scary
I want to
people.
see,
Yeah.
I want to see this house and I want to buy that thing. And I'm like, well, it doesn't really work like that. You got to
Yeah.
get the pre-approval. And sometimes you won't hear from them again because they don't have the credit or whatever. But that's what I tell people: call them, and they can at least get you on the right track because y'all tell those people, hey, this is what you need to do in order to buy in a year.
Yeah.
Well, the best thing about getting pre-qualified whenever you're shopping for a home is that's going to let you know what's in your budget, because you don't want to go out and start looking at $500,000 homes and your payment that you can afford in your budget is only $250, because everything after you see the $500,000 is going to be, you're not going to like
Right.
it. It's not going to be on the same. They're not on the same level. So it helps them figure out what's going to be, what's going to be in their budget. It also helps y'all figure out, hey, what's the best home that's going to be in their budget.
Gotcha.
And you know what? Nowadays, with the market, I mean, there's multiple offers on homes, right? And so if you come in and you already have your pre-approval and you already have your ducks in a row, you as the agent can submit that offer, boom,
Right.
get it in. And you're first in line instead of, oh dang, now I gotta wait till tomorrow, call my bank, get my pre-approval, get all that stuff in order, and then you're behind the eighth ball. By the time you do that and you get your pre-approval, that house is already under contract and you just lost it. So I think getting pre-approved first is so important, and for that reason, right?
Yeah, and one of the things that Fairway can actually do is get them all the way through underwriting, and have them actually approved to buy a home for X amount for whatever they're approved for, and then as they're going shopping, we can send a letter and say, hey, yeah, this borrower was actually already approved, already been through underwriting. Only thing we have to do is get them under contract.
Yeah,
And
and
that's-
an appraisal.
Yep, and get an appraisal. So at that point, it's basically, it's up to the property.
It's like a cash buyer.
Yeah, it's like
Right.
cash buyer, because the only thing that can stop it is probably the property. Because at that point, they're already approved.
And we do that with some of them. If they're a little shaky, or if we know that they're going to be looking in a market where it's very like cash is winning on all the offers, we can put them through that TBD program so that it's a quick close.
Right.
And instead of it being a 30-day, turn time, we can say, hey, we could probably close this in 10 days. If we can get an appraisal, boom, 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 we close.
Good deal.
So.
So finishing up, I want each of you to tell me what your favorite part about being a loan officer is, and then tell us where people can find you, where your office is, online, all that good stuff. We'll start with artists on this one.
I was gonna go last. All right, so one of my favorite parts about being a loan officer is, it may sound a little mushy, but I get a chance to work with this beautiful woman every day. I know people.
That's it, we're done.
But no,
Whatever.
seriously though, because
Were you deployed all the time
Yeah,
before?
I was in the military, and
Right.
there was a lot of times that we were away, and we were away from each other, and we didn't get a chance to really be around each other a lot because I was gone somewhere and doing other things. So getting a chance to be close to her and work with her just about every day is great for me, great for our relationship. We didn't know how it was going to be when we first started. She was. I wasn't very concerned. No, I wasn't. I wasn't very concerned. She was more concerned about, oh God, we're going from almost no time together to all time together.
Every day.
So,
But it hasn't turned out like that
it hasn't
though.
turned-
Like,
yeah. We haven't killed each other yet. We're still here. Neither one of us have any charges or anything.
Well, you're a pretty calm guy, so for me, it would have been no good. For Shannon, you're making it work. We're both good.
Right.
I'm just kidding.
But
Shannon?
Artist is the calm in the entire group.
Yeah.
Yes, he's
Definitely.
the calm to our storm.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have all the emotions, and he's just like here. But that comes from his military experience.
Yeah, for sure.
He keeps us calm.
Your turn,
All right,
Shannon.
me. Okay, so I think for me, it's the people and the relationships. Like the thing that I love about being in mortgage is my clients. Yes, my clients are the customers, but my main clients are real estate agents, and I love the relationship aspect of the business that we have. That we can all work together and help each other out, and I'm helping them achieve their goals. They're helping us achieve our goals, and those relationships are like gold, because it's like we have all these friends and this community, and we all work together, and we're going to events together, and we're doing stuff, and it's just like I love that community part of it. But on another level, just being able to help buyers get into homes, like it just warms my heart. Like when I have somebody that comes in and they're like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get qualified or not. Like I'm super scared. Like I've never bought a house before. And then I pull their credit and they're qualified and they can go out and buy their dream home, and they're like crying at the closing table. Like I cry. And there are so many situations that are just so heartfelt and so touching. And there are so many people that have come in and said, I got declined. From this ABC lender declined me, and I'm never going to be able to buy a house. And their agent said, hey, just call Team Alexander, just call Shannon, just call whomever. Let's just try one more time. And we figure it out. Like we figure out that puzzle, and we figure out how to get them qualified, and they're so thankful.
Right.
And like we changed their lives.
Right.
We changed the course of their life. And I feel like it's just amazing to be able to be a part of somebody's biggest transaction that they will ever have.
one thing I want to touch on what you said. We've never told anybody no.
Yes.
We always tell them not yet.
Not yet.
I dare anybody to test us on that. We've never told anybody no. We tell them
We
not
can't do it
yet.
now.
It may not be right now. It may have to be a little bit to work on it, but we'll work on it with you. But we've never declined anybody.
Nice, that's great.
Right.
Crystal?
Okay, I love being a loan officer because I get to work with different people. I think when I was teaching and being a mom, I am a hermit crab, and being a loan officer forces me to come out and talk to people and put myself out there. It also forces me to be involved in different things, and then I'm overjoyed at the end of the day when I get to close and fund a loan.
Crystal, where can they find you? You got Facebook, you got websites, app. I mean, where if somebody wants to get a loan, where can they find you?
www.crystalshomeloans.com.
Awesome.
And then, that's also important. We work as a team, so we all support each other, but we are also all individuals as well. So, Shannon has her personal goals, Artis has his, and I have mine. Obviously, we all look up to Shannon, but just kidding.
He's taller, so
Yeah.
And you have an app where they can go if they want to apply online or whatnot.
And you can download it from the website, and then theirs is alexandercares.com.
Yep. So my personal website is loansbyartist.com. You can also reach us at, or reach me on my email. The best way to reach us by email or by phone is going to be the same. Team Alexander at fairwaymc.com. That's fairway, the letters MC.com. Or our phone number, 254-295-0905.
you said it without messing it up.
I got both of them.
Shannon?
Same thing. So mine is super easy. AlexanderCares.com is the website, and Team Alexander at Fairway MC for our email, and phone line 254-295-0905.
And we have really cool apps that we can send you once
Yes.
you apply online.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I can honestly say I learned some stuff today too, so that was awesome. Thank y'all. that was really, really good. A lot of good information.
Well,
I
thank you
appreciate
for
y'all.
having us.
Absolutely.
We
Anytime.
appreciate it.
I appreciate y'all coming out again. It's Crystal Artist and Shannon with Fairway Mortgage, the Wood Group. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share.